Partial power failure and the car won't start on a Skoda Fabia Mark 1, 99 to 2007. I've just had the car towed back, having been stranded in the middle of nowhere when all the power went from the engine and just conked out. So in this video I'm going to run through it as a sequence of diagnostics that I did, the various checks I made up to finding the eventual problem, which is a bit time consuming. So if you want to fast forward to the actual fault and subsequent repair, then jump to 15:24 in the video. But if you want to see the actual sequence of diagnostics that I did, continue watching. There's no light on the dashboard when I turn it on, but then when I start the engine it'll start and then cut out, so that's the immobiliser. Initially when I lost power to the binnacle the dials were on 0, but now as you can see they're on just over 40 and 1300 revs, but I can't remember when that happened. I'm not sure if it came on briefly and is stuck in this position. Anyway, I'll check if anything else works on the car. Fan works. Radio comes on, nicely in safe mode of course, I'll sort that out later. Rear demister. Indicators don't work, so I'm presuming the hazards don't work either. No, they don't work. Check my lights. Nothing on the dashboard. Oh, they're working. Nothing wrong with them. And the safety lights in the door come on. We'll go check the power of the battery. 12.565. Nothing wrong with that. There's power getting to stuff and there's no corrosion. Check the earth lead and onto the body. That looks alright, but while I'm here I'll just take it off anyway and make sure it's earthing well to the body. And the battery, that looks alright, nice and clean. This is a repair ground because mine broke off years ago, so I had to make a repair directly through the suspension turret. Basically a bolt held on with a lock nut. Scrape all the paint off down to the body. I don't actually think it's anything to do with this, but I did pressure wash inside this engine bay down at the side here the other day, but don't ask me why. A moment of madness I think. That's alright now, just tighten it back up. So I'm just going to check these connections down here. I don't know what they're for, but I'm going to take them off and then clean them and put them back, just in case any water got in there and caused this problem. Take the connectors apart, spray the contacts with contact cleaner and then let it dry. It's a bit cold today, so I'm going to use a bit of a heat lamp. Dry it off quicker. Put all that back. It shouldn't be a problem that. I did use a pressure washer down the front of the engine by the alternator. There's some connections down there, so I might look at those as well, although they're a bit hard to get to. I'm not sure yet. There's also the connections to the ECU on the bulkhead, so I think I'll disconnect and have a look at the connections there. Here's the ECU connectors. There's two of them, one at the top and one at the bottom, and then it's attached to the bulkhead with these clips. As the bottom clip's quite hard to get to, it's easier to take the air box out first, so that's what I'll do. Take the intake pipe off. Unscrew the air box with the two Phillips screws, then it'll detach. Just move that out of the way. There's a 10mm bolt down here by the water spout. You've got to take that out. Disconnect the air intake at the front and then you should be able to just jiggle it out from its rubber bounce. Oh, and there's this pipe here at the back, I forgot. That's just a cable to the MAF sensor. Right, that's out. Take that out of the way. Now I've got full access to the ECU. So to take the connectors off, you just pull up the end piece. And then if you keep pulling, it'll just pull the socket out. And that's all you do. Lift that to one side and then do the bottom one. That's the ECU removed. Here's the connections. So I'll spray that with some contact cleaner. Let that dry. While I'm here, I'll just look at these two earth connections to the body. I'll just take them off and reseat them. I might take the cluster out next and then examine it and then have a look at the cables behind the dashboard cluster and underneath the dash. I think it's quite good I've looked at these and made sure they're okay, as I don't think they've ever been off since they were installed on the new car. I can eliminate those now. Now that the terminals are dry, I can reinstall the ECU. You just push the connector in evenly, make sure it's in the correct place, and then slowly push on the locking tab or button or whatever you want to call it. You can see better on the top one. Insert it evenly in, hold it in place and then push down. Then push it into the clips on the bulkhead. And then refit my airbox. Right, all the grounds and ECU is okay. Now I've just got to check the binnacle instrument cluster. To do that, I've obviously got to take it out, pull your steering down to the bottom and pull it out a bit, giving you enough room to get at it, and the connections at the back. Grab the plastic adjuster a little bit and pull it forwards, just enough to get your hands at the top of the binnacle. Lean it forwards and then jiggle it about a bit to loosen the cables at the back to try and get a bit more play. Then stretch round on the left hand side and take that connection off first. You pull the outer lever tag outwards to detach it and then pull it off. Then you need to go to the other side and lift the purple lever up. And that enables that whole connector to come loose. And now you can slide the binnacle out. Here's the connector on the left. I'm just going to look at the cables at the back, check them for chafing and anything that's disconnected it. That's where the power comes in. The large brown cable is the earth and the one next to it is power. They seem alright. Have a look at the multicoloured connector now. Better pull the cables out a little bit, see if there's any chafing. they're all okay as well. Now I could test the input power on the left hand connector, but to be honest I think that'll be okay. I'm just going to check the instrument cluster because I think I might know where it might be. To take the cluster apart you need to detach these clips. To do that, put pressure on the back cover outwards, just enough to clip off each clip as you're going round. When you've got about 4 off, it gives a bit more gap to then relax the pressure and clip off the other clips. Once it's detached, gently lift off the transparent cover. Now I can pull the dials back down to 0. To take the dials off, turn them to the left and upwards. Do that on each of the dials. The 2 large dials are the same, as are the small ones. Now you can detach the printed face. Be careful not to damage this or deface it with your mucky fingers. It's held tight against the centre spigots. Once you release it from there, the whole thing comes off. Put that on one side. Now we can take the plastic back cover off. That simply lifts off. Now I'm looking for some obvious faults here, anything that's burnt out, but it looks alright to me. So I'll take this white plastic piece off next. To do that you've got to take these 2 small metal screen retainers off. I've never actually done this before, so this is my first time doing this, as I didn't need to do it on a previous repair. So the metal retaining covers are just held in by twisted metal clips poking through the rear of the PCB, so you just need to straighten those. They're quite stiff to bend straight, so you might want to use some little fine nose pliers. I found I could just about manage with my fingers. Once they're all straight, then you can notice the cover will just lift up. Then you've just got to be mindful of these little glass screens that can tend to fall out if you invert it, which I found out to my peril, but at least I didn't break it. So you might want to take those out before you take the white cover off. They're just slotted in with a sort of rubber pad on one side, or both sides on the other side. So you might want to take those out before you take the white cover off. As you can see, they're quite delicate. The rubber piece just seems to be glued there. Take the other retainer off. When looking at the other screen, I initially thought it was held on the other side by something else. I just thought it would be matched the same on the left, but it isn't. So I just left it in place until I took the white cover off, which is held in place by little plastic clips which you just push and it releases. Like so. I then realised you could easily take the little glass screen out. I don't know why the left one just only had one rubber piece. Maybe it was supposed to have 2. Anyway, I'll just slot them back into the white plastic frame. Put that on one side and have a look at the PCB board. So as you can see, there's no obvious signs of anything burnt out. So we know the board isn't powering up. So I'll have a look to where the connector fits for the incoming power. Here's the incoming power connector. I'll just have a look on the diagram to see where the power input. So on this diagram, the 12 volt input is on terminal 30, number 7 on the diagram, and the ground is number 8, and also terminal 15, number 5 on the diagram. Let's have a look now what that corresponds to on the PCB. So this pin is the 12 volt input and this is the ground, and I can just about see some dry solder joints, cracks in the soldering. I'll see if I can get a better angle. Looks like these first two on the right hand side were soldered amateurishly by somebody, but it doesn't really matter that much. The first pin is the brake lining wear limit light on the dashboard, but if we look closely on the two that matter on the left hand side, they've definitely got cracks in. So that would cause intermittent power loss or permanent power loss, as in this case. So all you need to do is get a soldering iron and reflow them. You might get away with not adding any solder, but you will need some flux. I just missed videoing the first two. I just got it out of shot, my camera moved, so I can't show you that one, but I'll show you the second one. Put a dab of flux on the protruded bit and then apply heat. There we are, perfect. I think I'm getting better at this. As you can see, I just used a little flat bladed screwdriver to apply the flux first, and I don't mind admitting that I used a magnifying glass to do all this because it's quite small and intricate. Definitely not for the faint-hearted. If you don't feel up to it, get some electronic wizard in your family to do it, or some bloke down the street who's got a shop. I'm sure there's plenty of people can do this quite easily and even better than me. I'm certainly no expert at this. But here we are, here's the final result, which I'm quite happy with. I'm quite happy they'll all work now. So it's just a question of putting everything back. That's all back together. Just got to put it back in the dashboard now. Just align the left hand clip and push it in till it clicks. Align the green and purple one, push it in a little bit and then turn the lever down and it will pull it into place. So that's nicely firmly in. Slot it back into the dashboard now. I'll screw it in place later, I'll just want to test it first. Turn it on, yep, lights, start her up. Great. I've just noticed the airbag light's on, so I'll put my diagnostics on and clear that. Clear the airbag, and we're all done. Just take that off and restart it. Airbag light goes out and stays out. Just the handbrake light. I'll just take that off a minute. No lights. Job's a good one. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. So like, share and subscribe if you haven't already done. And as always, thank you for watching. And I'll see you on the next video.